Plus, Ultra presents The Grey Lodge, Friday Night Gnostic Mass. Drink, eat, nectar, meet. With me, Jin the Ninja, who hosts a show called Threshold Saints. Of course, joined by my co-hosts, Matt Murrah, Solar Exile, Joshua the Branch, Monte Carlo, Joseph Reed, and Mike. Thank you guys so much, everybody here, and obviously to our Grey Lodge. We are our group chat, but we go way beyond that. We are traveling on the fucking hyperspace roads of the hyperspace kingdom, trans-Plutonian, hyper-Uranian. We're out of here. So I think in that way, it is really amazing because we as we always say, we transcend time, we transcend space to come together in synthesis and in maybe rectification, because we bring different ideas together, but we also kind of analyze them. We come at them from different angles. So hugely appreciate that. This has been a kind of a amazing place to generate new thinking and new ideas for myself, a very creative kind of space, I guess, and in a way it is because of all of you. So it would not happen without like the Grey Lodge. So thank you to the Grey Lodge. I appreciate you. Everyone in it is amazing. I hope that I don't annoy you too much. And I know I'm a little wild and crazy sometimes, but so onward we go. So Quicksilver Surfers, right? I guess I'll let the co-host introduce himself, but maybe I'll just say to start tonight, yes, this is a Friday Night Gnostic Mass. We're just going to have a looser, free-range conversation. We can talk about the timeline. We can talk about anything you guys want. Really, it's a free-range space. So obviously, Joshua is coming. He just is doing something for work. So, but he'll come later. So, no problem. Joshua is on his way. But for now, we have Matt, Solar, Mike, Monty, and Joseph. So I will let them introduce themselves in that order, just simply because that's how they appear on the screen to me. Matt is special to me, but he's not more special. So I just want to say that he's just right next to me on the screen. So, and then I'll do room shout outs, and then I'll let, maybe I'll start us off, or I'll let one of the boys start us off, whoever wants to go. Okay? So, Matt, please introduce yourself, plug whatever you want, and that goes for all of you. Please plug whatever you want, but go ahead.
Buonanotte, everyone. Very happy to be here. Like Jin already said, it was a very special day as well. We had the Code Rejects episode. That was very, very nice. I got super happy to do it. It was so much fun. And glad to see you all here as always. So let's track this out. I'm Matt Mora. Kabbalah, astrology, tarot, numerology, whatever really you want to connect. It's all Kabbalah anyway. So it's just other names to the same thing. If you like those things and crazier things, make sure to follow me at MattMora19 here on X, Instagram, YouTube. There's also my website. That's Kabbalah.com, KAABALAH.com. That's a very interesting website as well. Planning to do some more stuff there. And without further ado, let's have a good space today.
I agree. We're going to have a great space. Our space last week was probably our strongest collectively, maybe. I don't know. I think it was really strong. I listened back and I was so impressed with everybody and just how we came together in true synthesis. Not just like, we're always a little gonzo, and that's kind of what makes the spaces interesting and also gives us like a kind of texture that's a little different than other shows or whatever. So I want to say that. And of course, check out Matt's episode. And I also want to say Grey Lodge YouTube channel is live. Thank you, Matt Murrah. And so hopefully we can expand that. Yes, Saints will have a YouTube channel. It's happening sooner rather than later. And so we're going to keep going with that because I think we say such interesting shit, not just me, but all of us, especially Grey Lodge Spaces. And I think it's incorrect to put us in solely silo us into fixed medium. I think we need to be surfers. And if people are watching YouTube, look, I don't watch YouTube. I know it's hypocritical. I go on YouTube. I listen to podcasts though. I'm a more audio person. That's how I've always been. But I understand Zoomers love YouTube, not just Zoomers, but many millennials as well. So it kind of it has to have some kind of presence. So I'm going to work on that, so we can all put all of your episodes up and you can reference them and all of that. And Solar, please go ahead.
Hey guys, Solar Exile. Not a lot to plug. I am happy that you were able to announce the forthcoming episode with Toby Chappell. I was very honored to be included in that in any capacity. Always a blast to interview the Temple of Set guys. Also relieved that it is coming out sooner than later for completely unrelated reasons. I will be traveling next week, unable to attend whatever space we put together. But I'm glad we kind of have that momentum and that we won't have that episode hanging out over our heads. Yeah, I don't have a lot. I'm working tonight to be able to facilitate that travel next week, so my participation might be a little intermittent, shall we say, and limited in some capacities tonight. But that said, as disturbed as I have been by certain trends that I'm starting to notice, kind of outside of myself, just on the timeline, sort of maybe metapolitical trends, certain sort of tendencies going in directions that I'm not super thrilled with. It's one of those weird things where at the same time I'm very sort of happy and excited for what I have personally going on. Not that that's a lot to share with you guys, so I won't go on about it. But yeah, I'm feeling good about things. I'm very happy to be here tonight. So.
This is the one thing, and I just want to echo what Solar said. Like, I'm happy for all of you to have your own fucking things going on. Like, that's your great work. It's not. I want you to come. I want you all to come and be friends, and be my friend, and be co-hosts, and do all that. That's the best part for me. But really, maybe even at a meta level, the really true best part for me is that you guys go do your own, like, you're successful in your ways, in whatever ways that manifests. So that's, Mike had a banger tweet about that today, and I just want to echo that. Is like, there's nothing wrong with wanting success in your personal life. That is sort of I think the great lesson of maybe the post left or the dissident right or whatever that is that, yeah, it's actually okay. It's okay to hustle. It's okay to, like, want to build yourself a better kingdom, to, like, have material comfort, and to also aspire to spiritual things. Like, both of those things together, not, so distinct. And it's not about um reviling the world. It's about, like, embracing it and knowing it's fucking messy and knowing it's fucking complicated. But then, maybe you cut through it with bodhicitta. I think that's a great way to do it, at least in my opinion. So without further ado, please, Mike, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey guys, can you hear me? So thank you for having me. Okay, yeah, I see you were gonna give me confirmation. Thanks. So it's very hard for me to say what I do because I just talk about a bunch of stuff. But I study a lot of esoteric things. I don't have anything to plug at the moment. I am working on some stuff that is kind of um secretive for the time being, but I think you can kind of get the gist of what I'm doing just based off of my Twitter feed. But happy to be here as always. And yeah, I have so much to say on all of the topics that are mentioned, and I'll hold off for the moment before going in deeper into that. But thank you.
Thank you so much, Mike, and our newest co-hosts. We really appreciate you. I know that I kind of added you, Rando, but I think it worked out great, honestly, because it's all about, like, who wants to be here. And, like, everyone who is here, they've kind of fallen into place. So let's just go with it. And of course, saying that, we have our returning co-host, Monty Carlo, who is legit one of my best mutuals. Yeah, he's hung with me through the show. We've had technical difficulties, we've had everything, but I'm very honored and proud to say he's my friend, and also to have work that we've actually done together that is interesting, I think. And like Matt said today, it's not about 10 million listens, 10 million downloads. Of course, I welcome that if that's if the universe so deems it. But it really is about, like, I'm interested in having conversations that I think are interesting, that I think are different, and that I think are cool, as you all know. So I've done that with Monty, and Monty's also a veteran podcaster, and I hope we continue our fruitful endeavors. And of course, I love that Monty has become a co-host in the Grey Lodge, because it's kind of a meeting of the weeb plus esoteric worlds. And plus, shout out to the weeb chat. Monty's weeb chat is like a kind of a hot place to be. So just want to say that exclusive. I feel very like in. So thank you so much, Monty, and please introduce yourself.
Wow, 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 wow. Always. Guys, you make me blush so much. Thank you, Jin. That was so nice. Um, I don't really have a lot to plug or anything, but I'm your friendly neighborhood Montgomery Carlo. I'm the bull from heaven. Fuck Owen, Owen Benjamin. That's me now. But but basically, it's just something that I was thinking about. I kind of wanted to give shout outs to, other people in the lodge here, because just want to echo all of these sentiments, because I've met some incredible people in here, and Space Answered, by the way, has given me one of the best uh, astrological readings that I've ever had. And also, she's not here, but I wanted to give big kudos to Cassandra. She's running a special on her tarot readings for the month of August. I took up an hour-long reading from her, and I mean, Jin knows about this, and a couple other people know about this. But I've been kind of like plagued recently. I've been having like really weird, like intrusive thoughts, and I've been reaching out and leaning on a lot of friends recently. A lot of them are in this space right now, and so I just wanted to give my kudos. And yeah, this really is an incredible place that we're building, and it's very cool how all of us, can all have our own like expansive rivers, but then meet here in the Delta in the Grey Lodge.
Fuck yeah, I love that. Thank you, Monty. It was great. This is the thing. I of course shout out John, shout out Dilf in space, and I don't say that in sexual harassment today. I say that in. I rely on John a lot, so I can't really tease him that much anymore, to be honest. So, he has been sort of helping me through, like, not that I'm not an astrologer, as you all know. I'm the first to say I'm not, but I do understand tantric astrology, so I understand things in my own maybe allegorical way. So, but John helps me see things in a different way. So, like Matt and I discussed today, like sometimes you just need the different angle, they need the different kind of view, the different story, and then okay, you can see exactly what you need to work on. So I do think the Mars Saturn conjunction craziness is definitely affecting us all, and that's really what I wanted to say. And it is worth discussing. It definitely is worth discussing. Plus, Mike and John both had hot tweets that did break out of our little esoteric bro circle. So, good job, boys, as always. Solar did as well, actually. I will say that. He had some good little right wing advice, some wing nod advice, maybe. But I actually think it's quite applicable and pragmatic for all of us, as it always is. So, Joseph Reed, please, Joseph, thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much for retweeting Matt and Ashley's episode. Of course, the Lodgies are under no obligation to listen to the show or to retweet me or even like the things. But of course, yes, I do feel edified, fulfilled, and happy when you do that. It does make me happy, of course. Whether you listen to it or not, just don't tell me. But yeah, if you like it, it makes me happy. So thank you so much, Joseph. And please introduce yourself and plug. I know you're going to say you don't have anything to plug, but you have an upcoming Threshold Saints episode, so you can always plug that.
Au contraire, Jin, I actually have something to plug. But first, I want to shout out Jin and Matt and John again, who all in their, separately and in their own special way, helped me immensely this week go through some turbulence, we shall say. So I really appreciate the support of everyone in this group. Hello, everyone. I'm Joseph at PhotoBowl here on Twitter. Media ecology via the Marshall McLuhan, whom I am devoted to. Consciousness studies, we shall say, and all around producer. And what I do, I've had something I could have plugged the whole time, but I wasn't really, I didn't want to talk about it. But actually, I have a company. I formed a company late last year with an amazing artist that you should also follow, Taiyo Okamoto. And the company is called La Maison Dieu, which those of us who are familiar with the Tarot Arcanu number 16 would be the tower, La Maison Dieu, and I do spell it with a V. This was before I was even a part of this Grey Lodge, so that's just how it is. La Maison Dieu, we are calling an art house. And what it is, I guess we could say a syneresis of the plastic arts, the mystic arts, and the healing arts. So far in 2025, we have produced a solo multimedia exhibition, we've produced a photo book, and we've produced a short film. So what Les Maisons Dieu is taking my experience in the arts and fashion and journalism and strategic messaging and consciousness studies and linguistics research and all this other nonsense that I've done. And this kind of concurrent thing I've had running for the past 20 some years of Tantra and astrology and meditation and tarot studies. And we are creating this thing, we have created this thing where we create artifacts and environments to develop, inspire, and train perception. So La Maison Dieu is my thing. Thank you very much, everyone, and onward.
Well, thank you so much, Joseph, and I'm honored you decided to share your work with us. I know that you had to kind of feel us out and make sure that we weren't, secretly some cult, John. So that's, but you know what? It's really not. It's not even. We're not even all Gnostics. That's why I always say these spaces are totally speculative. It's obviously plus ultra. I do believe magic is real. I know all the co-hosts believe magic is real. What is magic? Well, I think it's largely in your mind. So I think that's a good layer, at least, to understand what that is. It's processes of consciousness, it's perception. Everybody knows bodhicitta, hesed, loving kindness. That's a really good framework, I think, for climbing the tree, as well as, of course, middle path, non-duality, Rigpa, diamond thunder, pristine ice with light passing through. All of those kinds of clarities in consciousness. That's what we should kind of look for, not necessarily the externalized magic. But of course, that's useful too. So, we're just a weird bunch of misfits, Zoomers and millennials, kind of rejects in our own way, and come together and we do this crazy thing because it's much more interesting, I think, than what other people are talking about on the timeline. I mean, I'm not even going to say what the gender discourse this week was because it was so lowbrow. It's like almost like to give life to it is, I don't know, making a klipa. I'm uncomfortable with the entire thing. So we will pretend it didn't exist. It's a very good magical tool as well, negation. So room shout outs. Yes, John, space answered. Everybody, please check out John. His link tree has a buy me a coffee. Yes, his astrology is pay what you can. There is we'll say, there has to be we're not Europores, most of us, right? Like, I'm not calling anyone Europore. I'm not saying anything negative. I'm just pejorative. But I'm saying, like, most of us are North American, at least in consciousness, if not in physical location. So, you have to, tipping is a thing here. And so you have to understand, like, there's a percentage. So don't be stingy. Don't be like Scroogey. Don't be, don't dive for shekels in the community pool or whatever. The community, the fountain. I'm sorry, I couldn't think of it. So, treat John well. And I'm sure even if you can't afford a full thing, I'm sure he'll work with you and you guys can figure something out. So yes, John does know perhaps an approximate day for me. So something that we do have discussed before. So John knows this. He teases me all the time and calls me a Scorpio, but I'm really not. I promise. I'm really Sagittarius. But you know, I have a range of dates that I'm comfortable with. So we'll just say that. Yeah, John. Please go to John. He's our astro of the lodge, and he helps us with navigating not only astrology Twitter but also actual astrological events. So very cool. Thank you, John. Avi, Bull Brave Free. Thank you so much for coming. Dakini of the lodge, been there since day one. What can we say? The fate of meeting on the internet and then becoming, I don't know, whatever this fucking crazy thing is. So thank you so much, Avi. The spaces obviously happen in consent, and we recognize you, we invite you in, and we, of course, welcome you. Thank you so much. Sir Tim of the Tunnels from the Hapaborean great state of Hawaii. Thank you so much, Sir Tim. Obviously, you're not a Hapa, but maybe in a way you kind of are. So I consider you anyway. I know I'm totally betraying the Wingnut Bros. I'm sorry. Mixed race allegiance for life. I know Solar's gonna kill me. Anyways, this is how it has to be. So thank you so much, Sir Tim. I really appreciate you. Of course, Zachary Shumar, content creator, Tracy Twyman, researcher, and as well parapolitical researcher in his own right, and just an incredible friend to the lodge. He's obviously in the lodge, but he's also a friend to me personally. Thank you so much, Zach. Appreciate it. We've been through a lot. We made it through the first fucking ever series on the work of Tracy Twyman. So I'm sorry, Chris Knowles. You'll have to go cry somewhere else. Donlan, thank you so much for coming. Appreciate all your support on the timeline, your likes, and your retweets. That's how we do it. That's the only way it works. So if it does, it's all everyone in concert. That's also part of synthesis, is the retweets, is the likes. I'm not trying to, drum up myself. I know how to do magic number posting. I've had a few, not tons. I'm not a Monty, but he's the true master among us, to be honest, is Monty. But I know I've had a few. So the reality is but the spaces just do not get the same attention at first. So it really helps. It really does help. You see the the numbers change. So we have great numbers. This has been commented to me multiple times by different podcasters. They're very impressed with us as a group, that we've kind of built this thing. So again, if you retweet, you don't have to like all the keynote. That's okay. And as you all know, you all criticize and give me pointers, and that's okay, and I accept, okay? So, Mookie, thank you so much. Crowface Zucchini, transcending time and space, geographies of the world, geographies of the, cyber matrix. Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate you. We welcome you in. EIA, Asher, EIA. There, that was my best Hebrew, honestly. So I'm the only, what's so funny is that I get to beat the rumors the most because I'm like the least of that. But I have to kind of improve in a way, but then it's also scary because then, you're going to get called that letter more and more. So I'm okay. I'm okay with just my, kind of, Hebraic English attempts. That's fine with me. Vanessa, thank you so much. Vanessa is an amazing person who runs a tie-dye clothing business. She has sent tie-dye to many of the rejects. You will sometimes see them wearing the tie-dye clothes on the show. And not only that, but she runs a very cool Instagram, and she's an amazing person, and she's been very supportive of my work and the lodge. And so I don't really, maybe you came from Matt, Vanessa, and I won't take it personally if you did, but I'm surprised that you came again, because like, how could you want to hear me again? But thank you so much. I'm glad. Maybe you just came for the co-host, and of course, that's great too. And Miguel, hello, Miguel. I don't know you. I see your mutuals with Mike. Welcome. This is a weird space. This is a plus ultra space. It's a, we cross the threshold into DAF, maybe into at least approximate it, and we try and come to a place of synthesis and rectification. Yes, we often discuss Kabbalah, among other things, but yeah, welcome. Okay, so what should we start off discussing? Should we start with Saturn Mars? That might be kind of interesting. John, do you want to come up and explain what's happening? I think you should. Okay, we're going to bring John up right now. John, really, everybody kind of knows that John is kind of the secret eighth co-host. It really makes us very, Joshua was part of I don't know if you guys even know this. Joshua used to be part of a podcast called Weaving Spiders Only, I think. Was that right, Zach? Something like that. I'm sorry, Joshua. He can tell you. Anyways, they were very also inspired by the work of Tracy Twyman. It was a lot of what they discussed. They used to have a rotating cast similar to what we do, but we're not as rotating, which I prefer, to be honest, because I'm more. John knows I'm very Saturnian, and so I like that little bit of stability of like a regularity. But that's just how I am, and so. I'm not a love them and leave them. I'm really not. I've never been that way in my life. I'm like, if I let you in, you kind of got me until you drop me. That's kind of how it goes with me. So, anyways, but I don't even remember what I was saying. I'm sorry. Oh, John, you're coming up. John, come on.
You're talking about Joshua and the podcast.
Thank you so much, Matt. Okay, so Joshua on the podcast. Joshua was part of this podcast, so he's quite well known. Everybody knows who the branch is in like the podcast scene. He might be like niche underground, but he's worked with a lot of people. Obviously, Mario from Symbolic Studies, who was also part of that podcast. And it's just interesting to see how we kind of weave together very similar things, because I didn't know any of this stuff. Like, I didn't know Tracy Twyman. I didn't know any of that. Zach knows I was like a very virginal and innocent. And I kind of I was forced in a way as a joke. Not forced, but I was exposed to the material, and I kind of had to embrace the craziness that accompanied it. So fortunately, Joshua and I were able to, despite many other things happening in that space of time, Joshua and I were able to come to a place of friendship. So actually a cool story if you really want to get into the nitty gritty of it, but I digress. John, please come up and explain to us, as our secret eighth co-host, it's very spidery, explain to us the Saturn-Mars conjunction, if you will. And don't decline, John. You have to come up. Maybe he can. Maybe we have too many. That could be an issue. Yes, Mike, please go ahead.
I can just start it off because I wrote a little bit about it. And I was actually surprised that it wasn't as talked about before. Like, I didn't see many people mention it before I noticed it, but this is a pretty rare kite like pattern in astrology. And it involves 5 planets. So there's 5 activated planets, and this kite pattern is just very powerful. And kites, typically the way that they're interpreted is people see them as somewhat auspicious, but this involves all malefic planets. And it's just okay, I don't know if I'm getting too let me try to say this as clearly as possible. But so there's a grand trine. So there's 3 planets that creates a grand trine, which is an auspicious pattern. But this one, basically Saturn, is creating an opposition, creating like a huge tension with all this energy in the trine, and it's creating almost like an explosion of energy that has to be released in some direction. And this is a very, very rare pattern. Someone said that it only happens like once every 1,500 years or something like that, which I thought was crazy. So very glad that we get to experience this. I personally have not noticed, well, I think a few days prior to it happening, I think I was starting to notice a little bit, but I think when you're conscious of these astrological events, you can prepare for them more and you can navigate them better. So I haven't personally got like super angry or anything or wanted to burn a bridge or do anything crazy yet. But it can happen for anybody, you know, within some time frame, like where it's, because it's going to be active for roughly like a week, so it can hit you at any point during that period. But yeah, that's like the introduction of it, if anybody wants to add on to that.
Okay, so I see Mr. Matt Murrah and Mr. Joseph Reed, or Dr. Joseph Reed. Since Joshua's not here, he can be a doctor as well. Matt Murrah, please go ahead, and then Joseph.
I would be pretty happy if John came, by the way. John, if you're listening and you can come. But that being said, indeed, I felt already on, let me see, I think it was Monday already, or Sunday, that there was this kind of stress building up in, I don't know, in the air. You know, it wasn't, I noticed it wasn't just me. Like I noticed like in my job or whatever, right? There was this kind of lingering, I'm calling it stress, but it's more like a tension. So when I saw Mike's post, I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense, because like you said, there is a lot of energy there, but it's being pulled, right? It's being pulled to the other side. And then I noticed, okay, if there's such thing going on, you know, how can we make the most use of it? Because there's also this other thing going on with the 8-8, so the August. I think people are calling it like Lionel's the 8 or whatever in English. So basically, okay, that's a very interesting magical thing to understand as well, is that when you get good enough, as in you understand the tools that you have, you can use whatever environment to do whatever you want. So let's say you want to create something, but there's a lot of like tension and so on. You don't need to necessarily go about creating it the same way you would create when there's no tensions, but you can use that tension energy to create something that you like. So for example, like Mike said, if you want to burn some bridges, or if you want to like destroy something, if you want to get rid of something, that's the energy you're going to use. So you are quote unquote manifesting it, just differently. Or in a way, like if you, like some people wait for specific moons to do something, but sometimes you can again play around. Maybe if it's not the full moon and you need one, but it's like the new moon, then you can use it differently. You can like invert the operation you want to do and so on. So it's very interesting to play around with that. I will say though, it was quite stressful already for me this week, so I did the opposite. I went to a fucking concert and tried to chill it out, like use that excess energy, and that was very helpful. Like it was yesterday, and now I'm pretty cool. So yeah, go do that if you feel like you're super stressed also and you don't have anything to do with energy. Just find something to pour it out, I guess.
I agree, Matt. Thank you so much. I'm going to let Solar go really quick, just in case he is driving, and I don't really want him to do that. So, Solar, go ahead, and then Joseph, and then Mike.
No, it's okay. It's quick because I don't have anything intelligent to say. God help us all, on the subject of astrology. I had to ask Space earlier today. I'm like, hey man, what's going on? Because I knew nothing about this, right? I had seen the Doom kite image floating around, and I'm like, oh, that's an interesting angular construction, right? And that's about as far as my analysis goes, because I don't know shit about astrology. But even absent that, I could just feel what's been kind of going on over the last, feels like, I don't know, 3 days or something like that. And again, I'm having trouble placing myself within this because I am absolutely loving it. Like, I feel like I've just kind of accidentally caught like a Mondo swell, and I'm just like, I'm locked in right now, and just surfing it for all it's worth, right? It's been a tremendously like cathartic and clarifying week, and I've sort of effortlessly been able to kind of roll that into my ongoing process of sort of change and how I conceive of myself in terms of this kind of like vortex of constant sort of coming into being around a sort of empty self of pure consciousness, right? Anyway, without going on, I like, it's that that Homelander meme where he looks around and sort of awkwardly starts smiling. He's like, wait, this is good, this is awesome. And that's how I felt the last few days. And I selfishly, I hope it continues, but it's been odd trying to place myself feeling so askew from the generally sort of, I don't know, critical and concerned viewpoints that the sort of established astrology people that I've heard from have presented this, in terms of. So I don't know. It's interesting.
Okay, really quick, let's do a couple room shout outs. Of course, we have Brother Moonblade, who is a Logi, our sick bro, Dharma bro, for life, of course. Thank you so much. Also, Hopper bro. So, we're taking over. So get used to it. Cassandra, thank you so much. Content creator, you did get a shout out from Mr. Montgomery Carlo, Tarot Services, on special right now. Highly encourage you. Take advantage of that, please. Etsy store, purveyor, as well as content creator. So thank you so much, Cassandra. I do consider you an honorary lodge member, and we definitely appreciate your support, personal and for the space. And I think we all appreciate you. And I also would just want to say, like, we don't always have to agree on the nature of stupid man-made kinds of frameworks, politics, quote unquote, in the world, but we can come together and discuss higher knowledge. So I think that actually is very mature, and it's also sort of what the Aeon should be about. So I just want to say that. And of course, Bibliomancer, thank you so much for coming. Greatly appreciate you and your support. A longtime mutual, in fact. So thank you so much. It's really been cool to see you and see who you're connected with, that I'm connected with, and like to kind of meld the worlds now that you come to the spaces. So thank you so much. Apologize, Joseph Reed. Thank you, and please go ahead.
Thank you, Jin. I would also like to encourage John to come up to speak if he wants to, only if he wants to, but I would love to hear what he has to say. So in kind of preparation for this upcoming week, last weekend, I took a little quote unquote trip it's a nice little thing to reset for me and to clean house, as you might say. And so there was a lot of like things coming up, and like which created a little bit of turbulence. And by Thursday, I was crying in John's DMs, and because I did feel like kind of stuck in a little bit of a vortex. Is like, oh, is this just going to keep repeating and repeating? But certain things helped me to taking both two things into consideration: the Lion's Gate portal idea and the kite, and thinking about this like quote unquote doomsday kite in different ways. So I'll talk about something very personal in terms of that, like turning the kite into a hang glider really worked. That working with that metaphor. And then Jin had a really great tweet, because if you look at this configuration, Jin had a great tweet of it being a bow and arrow. And I'm not going to give any placements away, but Libra is my 5th house and Aries is my 11th house. So I was thinking about it as like the arrow of Mars, in my house of creativity being drawn back. And then you have the very disciplined disciplined bullseye through the Lion's Gate portal represented by Saturn. Like you've really got to, there's only a little eye of the needle thing that you can shoot that through, and taking my creativity and bringing it out into the group, is a way to kind of like release some of those things that had been building up inside of me, I suppose you could say. So that's how I utilized it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Joseph. I'm obviously always a proud tweet daddy, and so I do. But of course, that's an extra special because it's Aeon of the fucking Daughter. So I know that you haven't listened to that, and I'm not trying to like be like overly millennial, self-referential hipster. but I also am that. So the reality is you know, I still have not transcended those limitations, but it is that idea. It is so I'm going to use a little Kabbalah, but it's referring to the planet. So just keep what you said in mind. It's that martial fire, and it's in discernment, but where is it facing? It's facing that ascetic, infinite ocean, lightning, a storm crossing the sea. And it's infinite in its capacity. And what does it really mean? It really means loving kindness in perception. So you're withdrawing you have tension on the bow. You're going to point it at what you really want. You're going to magnetize, call forth into the world of manifestation from that ocean, which is triggered, you could say, by loving kindness. So that's the Anna the fucking daughter. There you go. Rectification and synthesis with the sun, Tiferet, or the physical sun, you could even say. Because that's what a lot of, I know we're not a parapolitics space so much anymore. Not that we ever really were, but I think we always discussed in an interesting speculative way. And to continue in that, maybe tradition, a lot of the sort of division between right and left hand path can, in some ways, be attributed to this kind of Mars Jupiter division. And Tiferet is kind of a perfect, and I often use the Christian example, and I'm not trying to counter signal Brother Solar, because I thought he had a great tweet about it. I obviously retweeted it. Like it's not useful to go to either extreme. Everything should be met in synthesis, and what you can't synthesize, you need to rectify. So in Yesod, so in your own consciousness. And synthesis should not be a process of occulting. I think this is really important. I actually like our Grey Lodge space because of this reason. It's a kind of the public intellectual that I always wanted to be, but never could really fully manifest in the world. But now I get to kind of fucking do it. But it's maybe not as taken seriously, obviously, doesn't have the same gravitas. But maybe that speaks to my chaos magic soul. So I'm sorry, Mike. I did not mean to go over time. Please go ahead.
Don't apologize. You're never over time. I just wanted to add, I guess, on some of the things said. So, starting with solar, and they're just riding the wave, and there being so many energies right now. This with the kite, like I mean, you can use it beneficially. Um, if you're aware of it and you can not channel your anger, at the person you're impulsively angry at, you can, because your body holds so much energy, and these types of malefic events are beneficial if you can use it to release that like pent up energy. How you release it, that's up to you. You scream through a pillow or something, or like punch something. You have to do something. It's not going to just release by itself, but it gives you that opportunity. And then it's just gone and you feel a little bit lighter. And then there's also the serious heliacal rising. I think that's probably more what is making people feel empowered right now, because it's like pure solar energy. And there's just a lot of Leo stuff going on, but the heliacal rising is very interesting. There's a lot of lore behind it that goes far beyond, I think, what a lot of people understand with new age type interpretations. But I've been feeling that, and I think that's a little bit distinguished from the kite. And it just feels like the sun, it just feels like summer. It feels like the sun is blazing on you, and it's like it's not bad or good. It's like a neutral energy, because it's kind of like frantic. So, you might resonate with it, you might enjoy it, or you might not, but it's definitely like something you can channel and use in your favor if you're aware of it.
I mean, thank you, Mike. I totally agree. I think it's a very tameable thing. I don't even think comfortable or uncomfortable. this is something that John's going to be surprised to hear me say, but it's because of his amazing guidance that I can come to a maybe a more moderate place. Is like, he was telling me in my birth chart how it looks for him, his interpretation, that I have a Saturn Neptune placement that sort of governs my whole thing. A lot of it is that. So he was saying that I don't really operate at the what Matt would call like the Sephira of like the other ones. It's kind of like always higher, maybe always in sort of crazy extremes, which is fine. That's very me. I can accept that. But so I think it doesn't matter how we feel. I think that's the wrong inclination. I think we have to move in the way, like, with self-control, almost like iron or adamantine will. I know that I am probably the wrong vehicle to express such stoic like a stoic sort of presentation, I guess, but I consistently see what you're talking about, Matt, like the reactivity and like what Joseph said. Like, we have to transmute that, and it's really hard and it's really uncomfortable sometimes, but like I'm Twitter notorious, and I kind of wish I wasn't, but then at the same time, like I was saying the other day, it's kind of part of my lore now, so you just have to go with it. Like, what can I do? All I can do is move forward, as I said, in loving kindness, and that is what I've tried to do. And so you have to see where it goes, and like that's all I can do. That I can only control myself, right? So, and then affect the world, hopefully through loving kindness, rather than. But sometimes that is accompanied by wrathful action, and John did also say that Mars rules a lot of my. It's very well placed for me. So and Jupiter's also well placed for me. So it's kind of interesting that I have these like extremes, and then like a kind of very Hesed, Gevura, Gevura and Gavula kind of like synthetic thing, and then I have these crazy extremes. So it's like balancing out. But I think this is true for anyone. I don't think it's like specific to me. I think everyone has their extremes, and I think that's really what your chart is saying. If you really want my like more non-dual conception of it, I know Matt agrees with this because I literally heard him say that a few hours ago. That to understand like astrology it really makes a lot more sense when you start to apply these like Kabbalistic lessons to it and layers, and just view it as things to get to know yourself better. Now, I don't believe in a soul per se because I'm Buddhist, and obviously the soul means it's kind of eternalist and it's fixed. But Matt did describe it as a way to getting to know your soul, and I can't say I disagree with that in any capacity. So I'm fine with it both. And I also like what Solar said. I think that everyone should try and be a quick silver surfer. Not everyone is going to be as inclined to that, way of being in the world. It's hard. It can be. But it as with everything, as with every marka, presents its own challenge. Yes, Monty, please go ahead.
Yeah. So now this is I'm leaving most of the. I don't really have a whole lot to say in terms of this conversation. On it, this is one of the. I sit back and I sit my white ass down and listen to the Happaborians type deal, but basically it's. I think astrology is at least like knowing your chart and like understanding. I mean, basically exactly what everyone's been saying so far is that it's kind of just like mapping out like who you are as a person, because we all have these like idiosyncrasies and we all have these communication styles and outlooks. It's normies would go and say like introverted, extroverted, etc. And I think that that's such a small piece of like the big pie, and learning what your sun, moon, and rising are things that people spend decades in therapy for. These are things that are so like fundamental to like the human experience that you're doing yourself a disservice by thinking that it's fake or not. How do I say this? And not giving more merit to these things that are not only excuse the word lindy, but also just something that is like cool. Like, don't you want to know more about yourself? Don't you want to know like why, like where you were born, when you were born, and like what the star positioning was when you were born, and like how that makes you tick? The human body is what 70% water, and we see what the moon does to the tides. I think it's kind of ridiculous to assume that that this is like gobbledygook when quite literally it dictates your biology. But that's just all I wanted to add. Thank you.
No, that was great, Monty. And, we are a true ecumenical space in a way. We don't make the white boys sit on the sidelines over here. So, the reality is I'll go really quick because I know Matt wants to go and he deserves it. But I think what Mike was saying about Sirius is really interesting because it also goes along with the Aeon of the Daughter and the Shrivija sort of mythos of or cosmological ideas. So I don't know. I think that there's something. And Nick said something interesting in Matt's episode today about I forgot which author he was reading from, but he associated Dath with Sirius as the fixed star. Well, Sirius isn't really a fixed star. That's what's kind of interesting as well. And it's always been kind of reimagined as being like a dog star, right? Like the thing that can take you to the supernal star, not the supernal star itself. Really interesting. Anyways, Matt, please go ahead, and then Joseph.
Monty brings a very important point, which is again, know thyself. Like, if you still think, and to be honest, you're not going to make it if you still think astrology is sure, use other terms. It, like Monty said, you're also probably going to waste a lot of time doing that. Whereas with astrology or like similar tools, because you have similar tools, maybe like even different astrology types and so on, so on. You're basically just reading the code. You're like looking at yourself. It's like a code is like an app. You're like reading it. So it couldn't be more straightforward than that. Especially if you have like a good reader. Okay, you have John here. You can go to him, or anyone else you trust. It doesn't matter. But when it is pretty clear, hey, that's what's going on. Now, also, the more you learn, the more able you are, because without it, then well, you're just lost in the sea of madness of life. You're just gonna be some kind of NPC running around nothing. So it really, the main goal, I'd say, for this game here is to understand yourself. That's where everything will come from. All the good ideas. If you're someone here, you want to make money, okay, go to yourself. If you want to be more healthy, if you want to have better relationships, if you want to just have more fun, whatever it is, really, if you go to yourself, you're gonna find everything. Everything is already there. So the more time you spend looking outside, actually, the more time you're wasting, in the sense of, if you go and look inside with whichever tool you want to use, the faster you're going to get to the destination that you're actually looking for. So just want to say that. Also, a very interesting point, actually funny point. The other day, someone posted, quote unquote doctor, posted that, oh, dreams are fake and clifas and so on. Yeah, sure. And then somebody had put an image which said something like, if astrology was real, companies would use them to make money. I chuckled. Because, again, you're not going to make it. If you still don't understand that companies indeed do use it, and not necessarily only magical timing, but like archetypes, logos, and so on, you're not going to make it. Yes. The Aeon is shifting already. So hop on.
I told Rom this in a DM the other day. I was like, everything we said was right. After Joseph sent us the paper, and he was like, yeah, I know. Of course, because that's how Rom is, right? But everything that I said with Aeon of the Daughter was 100% based on Tantra. 100% based on my Kabbalistic Sephardic experiences. And like my deeper understanding of it. Yes, gave it a speculative framework, but I think it bears out. I think it bears out astrologically, and I think it bears out just in the material reality. So I think it's a really interesting time to be alive. I agree, Mike. And Joseph, please go ahead.
Thank you. I wanted to comment on something that you said earlier, Jin, about adamantine will and feelings. And like, I'm just paraphrasing, and if I'm not like remembering it correctly, then please let me know. But like feelings not being so important. But like I think we're thinking the same thing, but I kind of look at it in a different way. Like what I want adamantine to be is my like unshakable axis, like the will there, because the emotions are going to come and go. But feeling and sensation, I think, is super important. Like, for example, I think of this very normie question that you often hear: oh, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you want to be in 10 years? Like, such a bullshit question. I'm like, much more interesting question is, how do you want to feel in 10 years? Do you want to feel regret? Do you want to feel exhausted? Do you want to feel at sixes and sevens? Something like that. So it's like starting with your unshakable axis, which, yes, that has to be adamantine. No matter what happens, no matter what comes up, it is not going to affect me. Like that's a resolve. Because I have this weird thing about, I don't know much about Crowley or Nietzsche or anything, but when I hear will, it immediately jumps to like, I want to exert my will on the outside world, which it doesn't have to mean that like I can have my own will. But like the axis is adamantine. And then, okay, what is the feeling of this? There's some challenge, there's some project, there's something I want to accomplish. What is the feeling I have when it is already done? And that's an interesting thing for me to work with, like that kind of feeling and sensation. So just something that came up. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. And I do appreciate that, like, you like being in dialogue about this. I agree with you. Feelings are not bad. Are you ruled by feelings? And what is the difference between um, a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm an empath," or "I'm this," and yes, that might be true. But a lot of that is preconception as well, and a lot of that is like our own bullshit. I'm just being very frank. I'm not. It's not directed at you in any way, Joseph. I'm just being like, I'm cutting through some of the new age thing. It's just that I think that it's better to. What is adamantine will? I think it's single pointed. I think it's like being in the kind of Rigpa Diamond Thunder consciousness. But I think it's not being bendable to the extreme, to the extremities, to the many, to the multiplicity. It's not self-worship either, right? Because Buddhists don't believe in a fixed self. That self-combusts, like John was telling me about Mercury self-combusting, right? That is kind of you could say even a higher apotheosis of Mercury, self-combusts at the sun. So I think there is a kind of, people get conflate, like, what are my feelings? Well, some things are, this is why I like the traditional tantric way. You can classify all natures in the world in 3 ways, 3 modes: sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. I think that's a very easy and simple way. A lot inclination and impulse, rajasicness is not inherently bad. Wanting to experience bliss and like pleasure and those like simple things, but it's like, how far does that take you? And is it serving a purpose, or are you being led down some darkened alleyway, like, I don't know, to some underground temple in like a basement of a warehouse? Like, is that going to lead you to fruitfulness, or does it lead you to like like Klopothic thinking? I'm not putting it down. I'm just saying things, there can be inclination, rajasicness often leads to lust. Red nectar begets red poison, right? It's the same for sattvic. You have the overly purity culture, overly puritanical. I think this is what a lot of the timeline's been about. Do you go radically, like, if you go like, so like, is that even right wing? I don't even know. I don't even think so. Nobody's really conservative. Give me a break. like we form our opinions much more in the day-to-day on the timeline. Yes, we agglomerated for COVID for very good reasons. But we've had so many decoherent events through that where we've all broken up, siloed. Well, I think single pointedness, adamantine will is also being able to come together in a way and kind of putting the bullshit aside. I think that's kind of maybe more of a meta-political thing, but I don't know. That's kind of how I'm feeling about it. I'm sorry, Matt and Mike. Please go ahead, Matt, please. And I see Solar as well. Matt, please go ahead, and then we'll let Solar go, and then I'll let Mike go, or whomever. Mike, did you have your hand?
I think Mike was first.
Okay, I apologize. Mike, please go ahead. I apologize.
It's no problem. So I just want to tie some of these ideas together that Monty was talking about, and Jin and Matt and Joseph. So, I mean, the reason I study astrology is I want to understand myself and be able to grow and like develop more effectively, but also I want to be able to navigate energy so I'm not under war all the time, because sometimes things happen and you're like, why did this happen? And I think when you're more sensitive to this stuff, it's kind of a natural progression to just learn more and more about what is going on energetically, because you don't want to be attacked all the time. Like, you want to be able to know what's going on, and you want like surety, and not just astrology, but with natural cycles as well. And this is something that I first got into just being in the market, because the market is highly cyclical, and a lot of astrologers are not as aware of the cycles that are not astrological, but they significantly impact individually you, but also as a macro, they affect large groups of people. And I remember in 2023, that was like a really, really bad cyclical, like natural cyclical year for energy. And the vibes were just off that entire year. It was so bad. And I remember just people talking about on Twitter, like, it's not just you, the vibes were off, but all the astrologers didn't know why, because it wasn't astrology, it was cycles. And so I'm not like John with astrology. Like, I'm into astrology, but I try to like tie it into like other things that I'm doing. And but I do try to like catch the bigger things, because that's affecting a lot of the things I'm looking at. Like, it affects the market, it affects me, and they're just like, you really want to find those like energetic nexuses, which are the most impactful. And then you don't have to, because there's so many things going on all the time, like you can't do everything. And I know some of you guys are not as into astrology, and I can understand why. It's just you only have so much time in the day to do anything. So with me, like, I just try to catch the big things. And I think that's the point I was trying to get across. Matt, you can take it from there. I forget what else I was saying.
Yeah, thank you, Mike.
Good.
Yeah, sorry, Matt. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. If you remember it, just read the hand again. But very, very interesting as well what you just bring up. So I was gonna bring a small point, but now I have quite a few things to bring here. So the first one, so Joseph was talking about feeling. So it is very interesting that in Portuguese, the word that it was probably gonna be the most used to translate feeling is gonna be sentimento, which exists in English, sentiment, but it's not exactly the same usage. But you get, again, Kabbalistically, you can understand it as your feeling. So senti, it's like sentir in Portuguese, so feeling. The mind, so mente, the mind. So you are feeling with the mind. Again, you're feeling with the digital, like when you can imagine something and feel like when you dream, basically, okay? You're feeling, you're smelling, you're being touched, whatever, with the mind. So the clearer that you can get your will to match your feeling, your, again, mind feeling, the easier it is not only to understand exactly what you're getting, because sometimes you think, oh, I want that, but then you're feeling something else, so you're not getting what you quote unquote want, but also the thing that you're actually wanting gets to you much faster and much in a much better way. Okay, so it is very interesting that a lot of people still don't understand that idea that it's not only about um, knowing what you want or wanting something, but there's again the lower quaternary. There's the 4 elements. You need to actually want it, imagine it, which is kind of the same as like the fire. You need to reason about it. The air, you need to feel it, have the emotions. The water, and you need to do something, even if that means doing, like as in letting the thing come. Okay, but you have to do it. It's the earth. So that's very interesting. Another thing which also came to mind when Joseph was speaking is that, and also now with Mike, about the cycles, right? So you gotta understand the cycles that are happening, and be it through astrology, numerology, whatever it is, okay, through whatever means. But you need to know, otherwise you're gonna be stuck, like Jin was also saying, in this quote unquote conservative mode, or just thinking, oh, that's the only way that things exist. But reality is in flux. Like the aeons are always shifting. Even if things worked in the past, doesn't mean that they will always work now, or that they will be the best thing that you can use right now. So, like, for example, flip phones existed, but doesn't mean you should use them nowadays. Like, if you want to do things with phones, there are much better phones. So maybe go look out for those. Okay, so one like small thing, for example, a lot of people are still stuck in the quote unquote I am thing. Like, I am is Aries. Like, that's a whole like 1,000 years ago. We are right now more in the I know stage. So it's not so much about what you believe, but like what you actually know. Again, very rational, very quote unquote scientific, as in the sense that you have the experience and the knowledge. So it's not only the experience and you believe in the experience, but it's both combined. So it's an evolution of the thing. And yeah, I think that's the very interesting point that Mike brings, and I want to reaffirm here, like, know the cycles of everything. Know your cycle, because you're going to understand when you start to pay attention, you repeat a lot of the things in your life, as in quite robotically. Like, you take the same actions, which leads you to meeting the same type of people, same problems, and so on, so on. So unless you break out of those, it's going to be infinite. And I don't know about you, but saying the same movie all the time is kind of weird. So it's cool to find new movies, find new games, new things to do. So unless you can understand that you are watching the same movie, like we also talked about it in some spaces. I think if it wasn't the other one, which again they released for the 10th time, the Fantastic Four. Like, come on, you're gonna watch the same movie, same story, same everything. Like, they changed the characters, but it's still the same thing. Come on, don't be that crazy. Anyways, I digress.
Thank you so much, Matt. I'll let Brother Solar go without my intermediate commentary. Please, Solar, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to point to a slight like ambiguity in language to kind of make a broader point, even though it's fairly obvious, right? So like feelings, quote unquote, as that word is getting tossed around a lot, and even within like this little discussion, we can see that people mean very, very different things by it. Particularly, we mean things that are maybe not rational, but we're aiming at I'm again simplifying it into kind of two distinct things, talking about like physical sensations and emotional waves, like things that confront us. But then also I think there's a sense of like supra rational, whether you want to call it knowledge or super rational experience, something that maybe like, again, maybe in a Platonic sense, because I've been equinomaxing, so I'm sort of thinking in terms of Plato right now, right? Something that exists higher than dianoia, higher than our sort of like rational, like cognitive reason, right? Like, we all have this sense, and so like that's obvious, right? But the broader point I wanted to make is that we all have this sense that we need something beyond sort of reason itself in order to illuminate like real knowledge, right? Like, we need something in addition to just this kind of dry analytical like discursive logic, right? In order to understand ourselves in the world. And so I think like one of the main deficits of our culture is that we don't have this clear sense of how do I relate and sort of make mutually complementary my capacity for reason and these other types of information and knowledges that are coming to me, either from like sensation and like low emotion, right, or maybe access to something higher, something mystical, something transpersonal, right? And this isn't to say that like we should all just like abandon reason and go nuts or whatever, or lean into and uncritically embrace any sort of capricious whim or mystical wave that overtakes us in a given moment. Like clearly that would not be the way forward either, right? Obviously, like Plato has some thoughts about how to accomplish this in sort of like, you know, dialogue, right, and dialectic ultimately. I'm not here to like suggest anything, any particular way forward, so much as just to highlight that we, I think, maybe as individuals need to find ways to bring these sort of like different types of experiences and knowledges into some kind of like synthesis that supports, or they can support each other and illuminate each other in a way that takes you forward, right? And it's unfortunate that our contemporary English language that we're using right now doesn't really do us any favors in conceptually designating those in like stable, useful ways, right? So we're all sort of like fumbling for words as we try to communicate some of these things that people had figured out like thousands of years ago, you know? Anyway.
So obviously mic drop. So thank you, Dr. Solar, for that. That was honestly incredible and as well very useful and very I think it clarified a lot of things for a lot of people, because I understand from a Buddhist way, like we want to clear the aggregates. We don't want like sense pleasures, those feelings to like confront us exactly like what you said, confronting us like spirits on the carnal ground, like demons that arise in your mind. So that's exactly what it is. And so I go against the inclination that you should be ruled by your feelings. I'm not saying that you'll never have them, and they're not. It's okay to have the rajasic impulse, but it's like what? It's like what Matt said. What do you do with that? How do you transform that? Do you transmute it? Do you change it into something else? You can actually change that red energy into magnetization? Can actually utilize it for yourself. So I just think there's something really interesting. And obviously, I hope in a small way, Solar, that we are doing a kind of synthesis, a syncretic meeting of we are the neo tantrics in a way. And I'm using neo tantric very broadly, but I'm saying that we're bringing everything into synthesis. We're kind of the, theosophy plus, theosophy plus plus, theosophy plus postmodernism. Or whatever it is, like the axial age. So yeah, I think that was amazing. Okay, Monty, I know you've been waiting a long time. Then Mike.
Theosophy plus ultra. Come on. So basically, I just kind of had like a stray observation off of something that both Matt and Mike had mentioned. So something that Mike mentioned when it comes to, well, if astrology is real, then corporations would be using it. Well, the thing about it is that now this is like my personal feelings and beliefs. I have no idea if any of this is true. I don't know. Ask Yahweh about it. But basically, I believe that the universe has, well, God specifically, has black boxes, where if you try and use like our supernatural abilities of identification and I don't know what I'm trying to go with that. Excuse me. But basically, what I'm trying to say is that if you go and use astrology for financial gain, you will be ruined. If you try and transhuman your way, like Brian Johnson, into immortality, you will be ruined, and you will be a freak who's wasted his life. The catch-22 of it all. And I just think it's so important to investigate, and this is what Matt was mentioning. You will really need to investigate your desires, because if your interest and your pursuit of astrology, the stars, and your role in it is based off of disgusting financial greed, if it's based off of if you I don't know, like even tracking like a woman's ovulation cycle behind her back, like it will lead you to ruin. Like these things are like so disgusting that God punishes you in ways that that are hard to describe, and that I describe it as the black box. So it's I don't know. I just kind of wanted to input there, but everybody's been doing great, so I'm gonna give it back.
Honestly, that's some very cool ideas, Monty. I kind of agree with you. I think that wisdom science and like how we employ those tools, they do have karmic implications. That's absolutely true. And like karma takes place over the three worlds, right? Like your mind, your speech, and your action. So if you want to apply the karmic rules to the universe, then that's absolutely true. And there's kind of no greater manifestation of karma than Saturn, Lord Shani. So, some very interesting ideas there. Okay, Mike, please go ahead.
Okay, that was very interesting, Monty. Your take on that. I wanted to comment on Solar's thing, but now I really want to comment on Monty's because I'm doing a lot of things that are what you said in a way, and I definitely have I think you're not in a negative way, like at anything, but I think like your perspective is like somewhat common, and I think people view many spiritual topics as ideological in a way, and so like I see a lot of things more as tools, and I think it's a tool that you can use, in any way that you want. It's not something that has to be for like your inner development or, like something that is like quote unquote like good or like a socially positive thing. Like money has like, a derogatory element to it. And I think so earlier today, actually, I posted something where someone posted about using like, why are you manifesting money? Like, that's wrong. Like, you shouldn't be manifesting money. Like, you have enough. Like, if you're manifesting money, you're greedy. And like that, I mean, that's like a very extreme take. You, first of all, like, you need money to live in this world, right? That's just the world we live in. And you have to be positive. Like if you want to attract more and have an easier life and like live a better life, like you have to just believe that you're going to attract more, and like that's not wrong. You should have as much money as you want. Like I think it's it's a common topic with a lot of spiritually inclined people to be against money because we live in a very greedy world, and I think a lot of people are very um polarized towards the opposite side of the spectrum where it's like people are selfish and greedy. So it's like, okay, well, then I'm going to be very selfless, but like you can't be too selfless because that's just putting the pendulum like way too off to the extreme. Like you have to be selfish to an extent. Like you can't just let people take advantage of you. But with spiritual things generally, I don't think like you can use astrology to make money. However, and this ties back to like what we were even talking about before, I just don't think astrology is even like at a level right now where a lot of people can use it practically. It's a lot of these topics have been suppressed for thousands of years. Like most people don't even like people are just waking up to these things. They don't even know it does anything. And the people who do believe, like we're at like stage one, like where we're going to be 2,000 years from now. Like astrology is going to be like a nuclear bomb. Like we're at like sticks and stones right now with these types of spiritual disciplines. Astrology can be used for money, but and I don't think it's wrong to use it for money. I think I don't know why you wouldn't, if you know astrology and you want to use it, uh, to better your life. Like why not? I don't see anything wrong with that. Um, the point of it, in my opinion, is to navigate these energies better to improve your life, and I don't think there's anything evil or like karmic about that. Um, so with what Solar was saying as well, though, he was talking about, okay, so when I say I feel, I am not talking about the physical sensation most of the time. And that was an important thing to distinguish, because the as like when you break everything down to its most like archetypal component, there's like four, it's just the elements. It's fire, earth, air, and water, and those correspond to like the Jungian functions, and that's like intuiting and thinking and sensing and feeling. And when you're feeling, you can be feeling energy or you can be feeling like physical sensations, and they get conflated a lot because you can't really distinguish And I think it's kind of like a purposeful way, you know, just how the universe is orchestrated um, because with the subtler elements like fire and water, they get uh, it's harder to distinguish them if you don't have like your physical body in control. So like, or if your mind is too strong, like your mind is like too crazy, like you can't intuit stuff very well. So they have to be, it's just important to understand like that these different aspects of our mind exist and how to bring them into control and like how to balance them within yourself. And I'll leave it there and let someone else get the mic.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. Okay, who wants to go? I guess we will do.
Sorry, do you mind if I just kind of respond and
Yeah.
just clarify? Sorry, I hate to jump the line. Sorry, Solar. I'm not going to be long. Mike, I basically just want to clarify. I'm leaning more towards when I'm saying that obviously you're describing reading the tea leaves and kind of following the path. There is like to use like a corny phrase, ethical way of doing this. I'm just saying that like crypto shills or whatever, they were doing this. There are people like in the Remelia group, the Miladies, who are going and literally hiring astrologers to go and predict the market for their latest, pump and dump scheme and stuff like that. So I just kind of want to I meant it in a way more nefarious way, and in no way, shape, or form was I, trying to be disrespectful. So I just kind of wanted to clarify that. Sorry, guys.
Wait, no, okay, let me just say, no, it's not disrespectful. It's not disrespectful at all. I just wanted to say, I just wanted to clarify just because I do think like it can be somewhat common sometimes. It's like that was like just one example, but like my sister, for instance, thinks like tarot is just evil, right? Like people think some of these things are just outright like bad. Like you're just not supposed to use it, or you're only supposed to use it in like one specific way. So I just like I understand what you're saying. I just wanted to clarify.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Monty. And no problem at all. I love that. Great back and forth. That's what makes us faces. That's what makes people fucking come. So thank you guys so much. Okay, Solar, please go ahead.
Yeah, cool. I appreciate the clarification on both ends. I just wanted to, I still think there's like something maybe that can be said or needs to be said though, right? So whether you want to frame this in terms of knowledge or whether you want to frame it in the more relative terms of like reality maps, right, or like conceptual or whatever, something that's not making any absolute claims to knowledge or truth, doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, like I don't think that any knowledge, any information, any reality map in and of itself has any ethical value one way or the other. I don't think any sort of fact or pattern that gets noticed is in and of itself good, bad, whatever. That's like a category error, right, to assign any kind of ethical value to it. However, the important thing here though is that like the thing that like let's use Moonbra, right? Because he's so easy to kind of like make fun of, but he's made himself famous, so I don't have to feel bad about it, right? I'm not picking on some poor person. The problem there is very clearly amplifying his neuroses and attachments and all these things through his project, right? Through his attempt to so thoroughly map out every dimension of his biometrics, right? And all this, like, to sort of over systematize his physical form, right? He's just bringing deeper into this kind of like mental hole, right? And ultimately like a spiritual hole, right? He's getting so bound up with these things that his whole horizon of being, his whole like, horizon of possibility becomes reduced to this kind of like pathetic thing, right? Like I don't think I need to like expand on that in a space like this, right? And similarly, right? Like if you're I don't know, tracking. I vaguely, maybe I didn't quite understand the import of this, but like if you're tracking a woman's like ovulation cycles, like that could be done for sort of wonderful reasons, that could be done for neutral, normal reasons, or that can be done for some like insidious, manipulative purposes. But either way, it's not the information itself that's good or bad, right? It's that like what that telos, what that end, like what this activity of your consciousness or your awareness, however you want to say that, right? Like what is that then cultivating in you that then becomes like problematic or not in a way? And again, maybe this is just cope because I'm about to make the transition into wealth management myself, right? So I'm going to be a stonks and bonds guy. It's that like, is there anything inherently wrong with like wanting to maximize value, make money, protect assets, grow my own wealth, and grow the wealth of my clients? Like, no, inherently not, right? But again, it's like, do we become over attached to these things? Do we allow the desire for this kind of Jupiterian, wealth maximization, etc., to sort of warp and disfigure our lives, ourselves, our trajectories, etc.? Or do we find a way to bring that into sort of healthy balance with our other priorities, our ethical concerns, our social obligations, and blah blah blah, right? It's basic shit, but it's not the knowledge, and it's not the sort of endeavor in and of itself that has the ethical weight.
Could not agree more. 100%. I mean, exactly that. So I'll let someone else go. I think Matt or Joseph or Mike. I don't know. What order you guys want to go in? Who wants to go first? Matt?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, I can go. So very interesting points from everyone. I think we can also synthesize it in some kind of middle pillar way. So in a way, yes, there are. So, well, for starters, okay, we said astrology, but I'm going to say Kabbalah. It's really the same. From my understanding, you cannot have something successful in this simulator if you're not using Kabbalah well. That means astrology, colors, whatever, right? And that's even a question, like how, when for example, you say, okay, a business is using astrology, do you mean they are just using the time, as in, oh, we are doing something in a specific time? But they could also be using certain colors or symbols or whatever, which are also connected to astrology. Something like Nike, you have the just do it thing, right? So that's, to me, very Aries, for example, coded. So they are connecting to people with those not necessarily placements, but with that consciousness, and then they're getting people to buy their thing. That's what they're connecting, people that they're calling. And again, you have the colors, you have everything. So in a way, that you can only do, again, a very successful thing in the simulator if you're using Kabbalah. But again, like Solar mentioned, what is the intent? So are you using, for example, this thing to just control, to just, fuck other people, to just, again, be very selfish, so very left pillar? Or are you trying to do something very selfless, again, very right pillar? Well, personally, I'm very fond of the middle pillar. So you can do both. You can be quote unquote selfish in the sense of, okay, I want to prioritize my own things, but also you will understand that it will be very beneficial of you to use that things that you're collecting yourself to others, again, being selfless. So balancing out everything. And with money, it's the same, really. Like, it is, honestly, I talk about a little bit about the alchemical belts, right? On, I think, not the last spaces, but the other one or something, like in a recent space, also in the chat. So at some point, this will be the challenge, like money. But when you start to understand that it is not even a challenge, like it is really, especially when you understand what you want to do with it, because that's another thing people, like get stuck on. They think, oh, I need this like magic number, 10K, whatever. But do you really, things that you want to do right now or that you need to do right now, do you really need that number? Or like sometimes a smaller number, and managing you're managing resources. So it's not necessarily about how much you get in, but how can you make use of what gets in? Because for some people, they can get 10K, 20K, 100K, and they can still be in debt because they cannot manage the resource. So that's the challenge there. It's managing the resource more than just getting it, because you're getting quote unquote money all the time just by being alive. If you're alive, if you have some kind of health, you, by an extent, you are getting quote unquote money, because it means if you're helping someone with the health that you have, that there's the potential for people to give you money. If you're going doing things, there's the potential for you to get money. Literally, you can find money like in the ground. You can literally find money, by having like a scratch card, whatever, like simple, it doesn't have to be a job, it doesn't have to be crazy, things like that. But again, you need to understand how much of it you actually need in the current moment. And I completely agree that there's not like there's no need for a fixation on how much it is or bad. Like that's going to depend. Some people came to live a life of someone which has a lot of it, maybe to even practice their selflessness, so like give out more, or to practice, again, their resource management or whatever it is. And some other people, not necessarily. Maybe they came to not experience having that much of it because they need to experience something else. Like, think to yourself, it is an amplifier. So if you have specific challenges, maybe having more of it will be harmful. So there's kind of like a quote limit that you can get to, which is going to be enough for you to live your life and do your things. And it's not going to break all the other things that you're doing. So again, it is, if you treat it with quote unquote the respect of it, which is it's just a resource and you can exchange it for other things and so on, but you understand the end goal that you personally want of it, then you stop being a slave of it, and it starts working out for you. You can start using it to work out for you, to do things, and stop being a problem already. So I'll say the last thing, again, very Solar was very on point, like the intent. That's what a lot of times will quote unquote matter with what you're doing, like especially magically, like, because sometimes even you think the intent is that you're helping someone. Let's say you're trying to bless someone, help them, whatever. You don't know where this will go. So be wary also of your real intent when doing things, because sometimes you think, oh, I'm gonna try and do this and so on, but is it really what you're trying to do? So it's a lot of traps in the simulator. So be very aware of them.
Yeah, I 100% agree, Matt. And I also want to say you can actually even resolve it even further than Brother Matt did. It always comes down to the kingdom. It always comes down to Malkuth. No matter if you are born here to be a Shudra or a Brahmin, you can resolve all these karmic disturbances through Malkuth. You really can. This idea of like bringing it all to the householder, bringing it all in, bringing it all to your sphere of influence. What is your closest sphere of influence? I think this is a really interesting way that everyone can be a wealth builder. Everyone can be, and I don't have a multi-level marketing scheme to sell or anything. I'm just saying that I think there is a potentiality, regardless of your planetary karmas, you could say. If you bring it all in, first of all, like what is the first, maybe then the last, the 1 and the 10? Just an interesting idea. Okay. I think Joseph, Mike, and Monty. I believe that is the order. Okay, Joseph, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. Great stuff, Monty, Solar, Mike, Matt, Jin. So as McLuhan chair of the Grey Lodge, I would be remiss if I let some things that were said slide. One being astrology is just a tool. Earlier, I believe by Mike, and just a little bit ago, money is just a resource, I believe by Matt. Okay. In the McLuhan, tradition, we shape our tools, and thereafter our tools shape us. You can see this in the most, grossest, most plain example is look at everyone's posture now that they have a smartphone. And look at how people drop their chins down to their chests, and just look at the posture. Look how that tool has shaped this. Okay, that's the most grossest level. Money and astrology are technologies. So they are extensions of us. They definitely have a karma if you're going to use that. They create some kind of karma. Other way, however you're going to use it, they are going to shape you in a certain way. So of course, yes, the intent, so important. But, and this kind of ties back into the paper, Chin, because they are extensions of us, we are money. And we are time. You hear time is money, but we are time, and we are money, because the money, the outside money, whether it's a dollar bill or an ingot or whatever, just some cryptocurrency, is the outward concrescence of your, I don't know, energy in some way, your time, your being. It's not going to go backwards. You can't get it back. You can be remunerated with some denominations of something, but it always kind of feels a little like unsatisfactory, right? So I just, we let's keep those things in mind as we move in perceptions for the McLuhan view. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we do take on the McLuhan view in the Grey Lodge, so appreciate that. Dr. Joseph Reed, McLuhan Chair of the Grey Lodge. I'm sorry I didn't give you your proper title. I know it comes with no bursary or anything, but you know, we do the best we can. Mike, please go ahead. Monty and Solar, if someone wants to give, I don't know if Solar's driving, I hope not again, but Mike, please go ahead.
Okay, following that, Joseph. So with the tools, so I've noticed something in crypto where that's interesting with blockchains. People tend to get a little bit ideologic about the blockchains that they use and very just dogmatic. They get stuck on it. You know, there's the people that first got Bitcoin years ago, they're still shilling Bitcoin like 10 years ago. They haven't adapted to the evolving ecosystem. Like there's people that just get stuck and they're invested in it, but it becomes a type of ideology in a way. Like it's more than just a technology. So now I'm kind of going against the things I'm saying a little bit, but at the same time, it's not like a religion or an ideology, but there is something more to it where there's like a community energy behind it. It's not just like a raw technology. I mean, maybe the blockchain stuff is a little bit of like a gray area, but in astrology itself, I mean, it is a technology, and I don't know if it's, I don't know how it relates to crypto actually, but I'm just trying to think of how it may not only be a technology, but I think it ultimately, it's not, these things can become more than technology, but I don't think they should. Like it can become something that's like more integrated into society, in which case it becomes something that's not just a technology. It becomes like a socially accepted like part of society, and you know, eventually, or just becomes like part of religion or something, where it's, where in that case it's not just a tool. But I do think we're at an interesting time with a lot of spiritual stuff where I think we should see them as tools, and we should treat them as tools and not ideologies or dogmas, and not have to feel like you have to like subscribe to something. Like you can just learn whatever you want, and you shouldn't have to subscribe to some path with all these other things attached to it. Um, so I've done Vipassana before, and Vipassana is very interesting because you know, it's a method of meditation, and they've been opening up these retreats around the world. So there's the Vipassana Society, and if you ever get a chance to do Vipassana, I would highly recommend it because it's free. All you have to do is sign up, and it's like donation based, and it's like you can do it for 10 days, and you can get a lot out of it just from those 10 days. So, but my point is, they've, with Vipassana, they've kind of boiled it down to something that's more philosophical and more technological rather than ideological, where it's like as religions are ideological. And when you're like subscribing to a religion, you're like, you're like subscribing to all of these different things. Um, and you know, some of it is antiquated. It's, a lot of it is not being, is not evolving with the times. It's just, it's, there's just a lot wrong with, I think you can find something wrong with any religion, but with Vipassana, it's almost like the earliest stages of what a religion would, like, probably was before it was a religion. But it's just, they try to keep it so like tight, like scientifically, not like it's more than science, obviously, but they try to make it like a tool, and like it's like a, but there's a philosophical element to it because you can't separate the philosophy of it from the technology. Um, but there's no dogma to it. It's just like a tool to help you, and that's ultimately like, I think the point of any spiritual practice is to like use these things to like better your life, and you don't, without all of like the complicated like antiquated uh, parts, like the rituals, which have just become forgotten over time, some of them. Yeah, anyone want to add on that? Losing my train of thought.
Well, I'm going to let Monty go, and then Solar is going to go, and we'll see where it goes. Monty, please go ahead.
Yeah, no, I again, like, really profound everything here. So I kind of wanted to, Mike, you said something really interesting, and now, again, the open conversation. It's just my training with this is like almost completely vibes. So I'm an autodidact with all of this. So again, everything a grain of salt. Um, I would disagree that astrology is a tool. I don't believe it is a tool. I think it is real. In the same way that tarot is real. In the same way that like these are like advanced cybernetics that we had gone and like unearthed basically. And time immemorium, there are plenty of societies that have gone and cherished and valued these things and invested in them. And I think that it's right now we're in a time where that doesn't really exist. But okay, more on like our current state in a second. But something that Joseph said, I recommend every single person in this chat go and listen to. There's this researcher named David Krakauer who has the lectures on YouTube called "Technology Makes Us Stupid." And to Joseph's point about McLuhan, with the resources shape us, the way with which the calculator has destroyed our mental math and the way with which Google Maps has destroyed our sense of direction is quite profound. And I do think that, like, allowing these things to atrophy, like, makes us like much weaker. Like, there's a reason why, like, humans in the future have like brains 3 times the size in sci-fi, obviously, but an atrophied body. It's the Wall-E people effect, because when you have all your resources met, you basically don't have any of the structure left in you. And I guess my last kind of stray observation here is that I believe that money is time. I don't believe it's a resource. It quite literally is. Ever since we got off the gold standard, I think that that is quite literally true. At how everything costs money, your labor produces money. Therefore, the longer you work, the more. And I think that that's like there's merit to that. I don't disagree with that framework, but I just think that that's how I like see these things, as fixed parts in motion here. And I just kind of wanted to. Oh yeah, sorry. So the last thing I wanted to mention is that intentionality that me and Mike were discussing earlier. So I think that the way I see, the black box that I brought up before, is that because you're right, you're using these things for money, but I think it's not so much the express output, but more your value of the output. So I believe that money is time. Do you cherish your time? Will you spend the money that you make, going to the strip club and like doing blow, or would you go and use it to invest in a home that you can go and like foster like your future family, or give back to the community and like build up your betters. I don't know. I just think that these are just stray observations that I just wanted to chime in. So thank you.
I like that time is money. I think there's a deep relationship between those two things. I think that's part of what people have, tried to discern for a long time. So I'm going to let my philosophy better go ahead. Brother Solar, please go ahead.
I don't know about that, but I will say maybe to redirect the impending chimp out on the Vipassana movement. This is an interesting field that we could plow and think about in terms of like what someone like Jacques Ellul would have to say, right, about the sort of drive to turn everything into a technology, right, to measure everything in terms of sort of quantifiable efficiency, right? Like we don't need any of the tradition stuff and all of that. That was just a straight comment, though. What I actually kind of wanted to jump on is sort of, I think, it's something Matt said, but kind of just expand on it. Because for a space where we talk about magic, or being real, we don't actually talk about like doing magic very much. I'm a pretty practical, hands-on guy, so I just wanted to comment on something that he said and sort of expand it, right? So there's this question of specificity when you're designing a working, right? And like you need to determine the appropriate sort of scope of the target. So in my case, because I've been pretty vocal about this, right? I'm trying to land a pretty particular, maybe higher end, you might say, type of job, right? And so there's this question of, well, do I want to do a ritual for this one specific position that I'm interviewing for? Do I want to do a working that encompasses like an industry-wide type of thing, or do I want to maybe not even commit there and just say, oh, something for prosperity and well-being, for abundance, and let the sort of universe decide what exactly that means, right? Maybe it's not a job at all. Like, who knows? Whatever. And there's no like one size fits all answer or process that will illuminate like that for you, right? Like that's a case by case basis that you're gonna have to learn to evaluate. But what I wanted to say is that just kind of circling back to that issue of feeling and intuition. Your intuition, as long as you cultivate this and you cultivate mindfulness and the types of things that we harp on all the time, you will have something to fall back on. And let me point to another working that I want to mention. So I do rune pulls every now and then just to practice a form of divination and to build up like data with it, right? Like the pulls are interesting in and of themselves, but I also just wanted something that was sort of repeatable and objective, right? I could do a pull on something and then see how it did this come true, in what ways, right? Like gather information and become a better magician, right? Okay. There is a rune pull that I did on a topic that was fairly significant and important to me, which is not usually the case. And I'll just admit this, I have no problem admitting it. I got the interpretation wrong. Like completely, I fucked up what a rune meant. Like this was, it doesn't, the context doesn't matter. It's not the point. Like if you go to an Stephen Flowers book, right, Futhark or something like that, and you say like, what does this mean? I completely chuffed it, right? However, the sort of interpretation of my pull, of my spread, was completely correct, right? So the point is that I had, because again, this is divination or any magical practice is ultimately like a participation in noetic reality, right? Or however you want to understand that, right? But the point here is that like my pull, I read it correctly despite almost inexplicably fucking up the maybe like the technical interpretation of it. I interpret it in a way that was right. You know what I'm saying? And the point is this isn't to say that the actual runes you pull don't matter. It wouldn't have worked if I had approached it that way. It's insane, right? And in fact, I'm doing this specifically so that I can get better, right? But my point is that I had access to something. Something was guiding that process. A part of me, however you want to say that, right? And you do have something to fall back on there. And to rely on when you have to make those discretionary calls. Again, in conjunction with reason and knowledge and all these things. Those things are absolutely foundationally important. Okay, I'm not saying they don't matter, but you do have something else too, that you can trust in.
I completely agree. We are going to, I'm not reticent to discuss magic in a much more pragmatic way, but I like that we use a speculative frame. But I think we can actually start to, now that we're so coherent as a group and cohesive, we can actually start to apply that to maybe more magical sort of ideas that are pragmatic, grounded in material reality, grounded in looking at it through our individual and distinct angles. And I think that we will definitely, that will be a series that I'm conceptualizing right now. So we will be working on that, Solar. So please, stay tuned. It's going to happen. It just has to happen in the right way, because you don't want to teach people bad magical habits or anything adharmic or anything that isn't rectifiable and also synthesizable. So it should be also replicable in that way for other people who may not have experience or karma. So we have to make sure that we are potentiating it in a way that's going to be useful rather than just like, um, IG like magical advice. And there's many people like ceremonial magicians to like the lowly Wiccan, and they give really bad advice. So we're gonna try and not do that. We're gonna try, at least I'm gonna try and not do that, of course. So with that being said, I think Mike and then Matt.
Okay, so I guess I just want to clarify on some of the things I was talking about related to what other people were saying. So it's not, so I was talking about viewing different spiritual like techniques um, and other things as just tools, as something that's more benign and individual. It's not that I think religions are wrong or anything like that, but I do think that there's something missing today, which is really negatively impacting progress spiritually. And I think that a lot of these different um, quote unquote tools, and I think there is like a clarification between like tools, techniques, and technologies. Like I think a deck of tarot cards is a tool, but divination is probably a technology. Um, so, but I think that a lot of these technologies should be treated as individual disciplines in like a type of university setting where it can progress and not stagnate. There's definitely a purpose to like these groups, like whether it's like a coven or a religious group or whatever else, they're like aggregates of different technologies and they have their own systems, and it makes it so easier to like develop the abilities to do whatever they're attempting to provide, because you a lot of these or when you're doing something, have some type of spiritual like profession, or you're doing something more seriously, you're not just doing one thing. It requires many different technologies simultaneously, especially if you want to be worth like anything. Like you have to, if you're doing astrology, like you have to meditate. You can't just do astrology with like a fucked up mind. Like it's very intuitive, very emotional. Like you have to, so it's not, they're not isolated. So in that case, you need these types of groups with like, which are aggregating these different technologies. But the thing that's missing today, mostly, like these exist in like small, sparse forms where you can like go to a school and like learn divination, or there's like schools even for astrology and stuff. But what's missing is like a whole university where you have all of these things, you have all these different technologies, and they're treated like in a scientific way, and you can have research on them and they can progress. And then whatever happens from that, like whatever groups, like say someone wants to be a shaman, like as a profession, you major in being a shaman or something, or like you just have these groups which are progressing the different things, technology that a shaman would use to be a shaman or something or whatever else.
Thank you, Mike. Of course, I believe meditation is the sort of foundation as well as the vehicle for all magical experiences. So if you're not meditating, get your ass meditating. However way you're going to do that. You need to be sitting. Obviously, I like mantra japa, but I practice tantra, so it makes sense for me. But you don't need, it doesn't even have to be Buddhist meditation. There's lots of different kinds of tarot meditations, the Tomberg meditations. Every occult podcaster has talked about this. The Tomberg meditations, the Loyola exercises. There's so many. Just reading Kabbalistic texts, like go read Ramic, go read Pardes. So there's so many different ways that you can sort of engage in these like more active noetic processes that aren't so tamasic. So this is one of the criticisms Buddhism has of Christianity and just all Abrahamic faiths in general, is they tend to be overly tamasic, overly reliant on sort of faith, belief, it's passive, it's agentially passive. So especially tantra, but all of dharma really wants you to be, you have to tame all three natures, sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic, all at the same time. So you have to be doing active processes to getting rid of that smoke of the tamas. So I just want to encourage everybody to do that, but meditation's a really good tool, really, really good tool. Like your fundamental, most important thing. I wish somebody had told me that at, like, when I was a little kid, and I think people probably did, and I just didn't want to hear it. So, but Matt, please go ahead, then Monty, and then I'm going to read a special question from our brother Zach, and then we'll start to close out.
Very interesting again. Very interesting, everyone. I want to address something Solar was asking about, like how to go about the rituals or the things, the magical operations and so on. And indeed, I think it would be very interesting to have some for their Grey Lodge Academy to exist in such a way that you can just start practicing and doing the stuff. That would be very cool. So Jin was talking about doing some episodes maybe focused on that, but Mike was also talking about this. This would be very interesting. But yeah, so first of all, about the divination thing, Solar was saying, indeed, that at some point the better divinations will come from your intuition. So the cards itself or the runes or whatever tool you're using, which again, when you start to go into it, there are so many ways to do divination. Like some people read from the way you take your like shoelaces off and the way they are portrayed. I don't have any clue how they do it, but yeah, some people do it. They get the thing from the coffee after you drink it. Like again, it gets weird, but it doesn't matter because it's not about the tool itself. It's about, or at some point it should be about whoever's reading. The tool is like the guide to the intuition, is like the symbol guiding it. So definitely, again, that's why you need to not only understand it like symbolically, but also use your, like Mike was saying as well, like meditate to be able to listen, quote unquote, listen to that intuition, be able to speak from that. I would say whenever, like when you choose the like Solar example, okay, I'm gonna get this job or whatever. Should I do a thing or not, or like should I do a thing more general and so on? Well, for starters, I would say if you never did something, or if it's like the first times you're doing it, you're still kind of not necessarily skeptical, but you're not just going to do something. Try not doing something super crazy, which again you're not gonna regret doing. Something maybe simpler, and it can be super simple, as in doing some kind of thing to find money in the street or whatever. Find $5 in the streets, whatever it is. Just something simple that you can quantify, you can verify. Okay, it actually happened more or less the way I wanted. And the more you understand it, the more you can see, okay, now does it happen the way I'm doing it? Or if not, what am I missing? And so on and so on. Because sometimes we will get so fixated in some idea like, oh, I really want this job or I really want this thing. And maybe it's not actually the best thing that could happen to us. And you can say your friends from the other side or yourself, your higher self, whatever it is you want to call it, they'll kind of like slow it down a little bit, wait for you to see, is it really what you want? And then sometimes you're gonna insist and the thing is not gonna be good. So I'll say at some point, like I got to a point actually that now it's not so much about doing rituals to get specific things, for example, or for specific things to happen, but more so going in the flux, like asking for my whatever, again, higher self, greater self, whatever it is, the name you want to give it, like surprise me. What is the most interesting thing? Okay, now we use the emotion you want, the fun thing, the most the happiest thing, whatever it is that could happen to me in like today. Okay, that's the first thing I'll do when I'm going to sleep, and the first thing I do when I wake up. And it has been working out pretty much better than I if I would be doing the things consciously, because that's the thing I lack. Consciously, we lack variables. You cannot know if you get that job, how actually is it going to go. So if you look at it from a bigger perspective, like where it could lead you and so on and so on, then yeah, you never know. Maybe that's not the right one, or so. So indeed, the more connected you are to that, and I'm calling it intuition, but that higher sense, that future sense of yourself, the easier it is to understand what exactly you need. And that's why it's also interesting to be in some kind of I'm gonna call it group, but it could be, let's say you're going to a specific coven, whatever it is, right? Because you have other people that potentially can help you understand that. So for example, you would have people doing some kind of ritual, and they would understand, oh, okay, that's what's going on. So it's kind of like some reflection, from what you're doing. I'm not saying it is needed, but it is cool to have. It is a nice to have. But yeah, I'd say, again, if you're starting it, just play around, do some stuff. Don't be, again, remember there's always the responsibility of doing things. Like if you're focusing on doing something, be sure that you actually want it, and you're not doing it for curiosity. Curiosity kills the cat. So yeah, be aware of what you're doing. But I'll say you may arrive to a point that you can just let the thing play itself, but with some intent. It's not like random. It's not like surprise me with whatever and then fucking train hits me. It's like not that type of surprise. Have some intent. You're for sure gonna have some, let's say, long-term goal that, okay, I want to arrive more or less around that place. Yeah, surprise me with the route. You put the destination place, and however I get there, make it the most interesting, make it the most fun. Again, change for whatever emotion or thing you wanna feel. So personally, that's how I've been going about. And then methods, yeah, we can probably have a space for that, but you can play around. There's many methods. I'm very fond of the lightning path. Used to, it's very works pretty well for me. It's very simple as well. We can do it anywhere. So for getting things or like making things happen, I think that's pretty good.
I agree with you, Matt. Actually, I'm very inclined to agree with you. I think the one resolution to what Solar said, or at least one of the things he problematized, was like the repetition of your practice. If you know that that's a goal, if that's like something that you have to either karmically rectify or a goal, and you are doing a specific wealth practice, there's many, many, many. It's the consistency of doing it, but you're not doing it for the specificity of the job. You're doing it for the greater wealth practice, like growing your wealth, repairing your wealth karma, and also increasing your wealth merit for the next life immediately. So that's what would the sort of separate Buddhist magic, Buddhist sorcery, from Abhacharya, from black magic, would be that it would be to purify those karmic obscurations, and you would be doing it so then you would also receive the material benefit of the sort of enlightened, I guess you could say, enlightened energies in through your practice. So I don't know, just an interesting idea. But yes, I'm very inclined to agree with Matt. Solar or Monty, and then Solar, because I know Solar wants to respond, but I'm going to let Monty go because he had his hand up forever.
Yeah, I promise I won't take too long. First and foremost, Solar, as a former finance guy, you're gonna kill it. Allow Unk to talk on it for a second. But quite literally, the one thing I will always say, I've worked in sales for over 10 years. This has been I've been mildly successful, and the one thing I will say is that always go and talk to your clients as if they're war veterans, and they're telling you about their war stories. Be riveted, be involved, ask questions. Like, this is all they want to do is talk about themselves, and find a way to go and get them to talk about like everything. I think that that's just like a good philosophy in general, especially in dating. Actually giving a shit is like just good advice. So I highly recommend. But this is something that Jan had mentioned earlier in regards to therapy. And so I kind of want to just kind of highlight, all of us are on Twitter right now. All of us have seen, we have had a front row seat to what the parasite of the mind virus, what their hosts look like. I think that when it comes to meditation, it's quite literally the most important thing you can do. I said before about people who go to therapy instead of reading their chart, thinking that their chart is fake, but like And listen, for therapy's there for the people who need it. Like again, I'm not trying to be like too inflammatory here, but what I mean to say is that therapy is content if you're not actually meditating. The actual work that you need to do, like your shadow work, the things that like truly give you development and like can give you structure, you have to like finally attune yourself. You are an instrument, and like you need to like dust the cobwebs and tune the strings. There's just simply no way around it. And yeah, I mean, just content is not progress. Uh, Buying a BetterHelp subscription is not going to help you one iota if you're not willing to go and sit down, like lay down, take 10 minutes, shut everything off, focus on your breathing, and see what happens. You don't need psychedelics to tell you what you're afraid of and what you care about. I'm sorry, that went on too long. Go ahead, Solar.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, just real quick, I wanted to, I don't know, hit the other pillar, right, and see if we can, through antithesis, bring something into synthesis here with what Matt said, right? So, a couple things. I actually think curiosity is a great motivation. I think you should be curious about what exactly you are, like as a entity or just thing, and what you can do in the world. Like, I think it's actually really foundational and important, right? And I think it would be a tragedy to lose that. I think too that there you can get I use the Setian distinction between lesser and greater black magic. Greater black magic being that which is attempting to transform the magician, right, the practitioner, where lesser black magic is something to exert an effect out in the world, roughly speaking, right? Okay, so I think there can be this tendency to stick to the big stuff, the internal stuff, because you're afraid that your magic won't work. You're afraid that you're just schizophrenic. You're afraid that this is all bullshit. And so you're like, well, for now, I'll just stick to the internal stuff. And I think you can use concerns about karma or like, Sorcerer's Apprentice type shenanigans as a way, as a cope, essentially, to cover for the fact that you're not actually doing anything in the world that would have objective, quantifiable, observable results, even just to you, right? Like, I'm not saying you should be able to like explain this to your like, I don't know, Reddit atheist like cousin or whatever, you know what I mean? But like still, even like I think you can kind of psych yourself out and fall into the rut of working only internally. Am I saying that that stuff doesn't matter? Of course not. That's the focus of my practice too. Probably for everyone. Like, I'm all about initiation, right? And that is fundamentally the transformation of the individual or the super individual, whatever. So it's not that I think like Matt's wrong. I guess what I'm saying is like I think there can be a balance there. And again, am I saying that the karmic implications and ramifications of what you do aren't real? No, of course not. Like, I'm not saying that you should just carry out a working to blow up a school bus full of orphans or whatever until it happens one day. But at the same time, like, you shouldn't be so paralyzed by worrying about the karmic implications that you forget, that you lose sight of the fact that, you know what, there are karmic implications for how attentively you drive down the highway as well, right? Like, at least, I mean, again, maybe this is not actually true in some like particular system of belief or whatever, but in at least from where I'm standing, if we're working within a framework like karma kind of generally, it's not as though there's a like 1 trillion times multiplier on karma that's accrued through magical stuff versus karma that's accrued through like mundane activities in your daily life. I mean, fundamentally, like, I actually don't even draw a huge distinction between those two things in a lot of ways, right? So again, it's not that I like strongly disagree. I'm just trying to like, maybe like come at this from a slightly different angle, right? That's all.
I totally appreciate that, Solar. I would actually disagree with you on several points, but I think it's fair, and I think you may raise some good issues, or so, I think you bring an interesting angles to it, multiple, and I think in Tantra, it is considered that your sort of sorcerous operations are much more karmically implicative. You don't have to agree with that. That's okay. It's just that they do have they carry more significant weight. That's why it's so important that for people who have the empowerments or have initiations, that they don't give out the practices or the mantras. This is the safeguard of Tantra, right? Is to not give out the sounds. Because even with the sound, just the sound itself, just the mantra itself, and for very skillful people, and I think you raise an issue of skillful means. Like, the more skillful people are, yes, the more they might engage in karmically implicative magic. Now, I don't even ascribe to the same categorization you do, but I don't disagree with yours either. But I tend to think of things as like Buddhist sorcery, what removes karmic implications or karmic obscurations, versus what gets you what you want right now. That's sort of how we differentiate it. What is skillful? So I would say that none of us are skillful, and it's not aspersion on any of you, or particularly myself. I think I'm a good magician, so as you all know, because I often tell you that I am. So, I think it's both. I think it's a balance, and because as Matt said, I try, or like we try to bring it to the middle pillar, but that also comes from both sides. That comes from both hands. It's not useful to draw from only one side of the whatever metaphor you want to use, the well or whatever. Okay, you need both. You need both because we live in the material world, but we're also spiritual beings. It's such a cliche, but it's a perfect kind of a metaphor to express like why we should walk in the middle and then sort of draw from the other sides, draw the ideas, especially in an aeon where things can arise in the aether wave in such interesting, diverse, and syncretic ways, and in very unexpected ways. So I think that that's kind of like how I always balance it. Like, yes, I bodhicitta maxing or whatever. And like, Rom, where the fuck have you been, dude? Like, it's um Rom is like the secret backbone of a lot of these meetings because he's so active in our chat and as well on the timeline lately. But so let me just shout him out even before I close out. But thank you, Brother Rom, for gracing us with your presence. We greatly appreciate it. But I think it's complicated and messy, and I think this is why karma is complicated and messy. And I think it contains a lot of uncomfortable truths that lead us to recognize that perhaps desire itself can be a cause of karma. And that is a rather uncomfortable truth, just of the nature of reality. So, but that's why we have Tantra, because we can clear the obscuration of that karma right now. You can just do Nyandro, you can do Vajrasattva, like your whole life, and, you're stainless, pristine, good to go, adamantine, all those things to bring up something that we discussed right at the beginning. Okay, so this is Plus Ultra, the Grey Lodge, Friday Night Gnostic Mass, drink, eat, nectar, meat, free range, but I actually think we touched on some really interesting ideas. What is the timeline? What is the market? It's all ruled by cycles. It's an axial age space. Also, we have to shout out. We did shout out you, Joshua, or not Joshua. Yeah, Joshua. I'm sorry. So many J's, I can almost not handle it. Joshua is our co-host. I'm so sorry that I did not see you until now, but he is our co-host, and next week he will be up in full force. And this was not a vacation. By any means, and thank you. I thought tonight went really great. Obviously, we need our eighth brother to come back, and so and John as well. And sorry, John, I think we just had too many speakers. I'll add more co-hosts next time. We'll see how we go. And I thank you guys, everyone, every single person. I'm going to let them all, if they so choose, to close themselves out. But I just want to especially thank Mr. Matt Murrah, my brother of the middle path, we'll say. Thank you so much, Matt, and thank you for coming on my show. Really appreciate it. Solar, I can't believe you teased me about the Toby episode. Like, you knew I was releasing it on the 9th last week. I told you. And so, that's how it goes sometimes. But it is happening. I told Toby, so there's no going back. It has to come out, right? So it is what it is. So I hope you like it, Solar. So Mike, thank you so much, Mike. Really appreciate your sort of worldview. I like it kind of causes tension, but in an interesting way. And I think you also bring an interesting angle. No, I'm serious. I actually like that we are, because that's what the spaces are supposed to be, discursive. It's conversations that you can have with other people, other co-hosts, prolonged. So it doesn't have to just be contained in this space. It can be next week, it can be the next week. You can continue, like, and you don't have to agree, and that's totally fine, because I think we're in the aeon of, as Solar said, of decoherence. So let's just be Quicksilver surfers and ride with it. Of course, Mr. Montgomery Carlo, thank you so much, Monty, for joining us. I know I just recorded with Bicky, and he was like, "You and Monty did a free run episode," and I was like, "We sure did, we sure did." And I also shouted out our episode Zach on Don Da Da. And so our free run episode, people really loved it. Like, they really responded to it. I got so many comments and so much feedback. You know, like, I am a weeb, but like, I never get invited on those kind of podcasts. So hopefully, you know, maybe one day. I'll let Monty go, and then I'll finish. Okay, sorry, Monty, go ahead.
No. First off, that's like the coolest thing in the world. I love that people love that because like we put so much work into it. It was like 2 years in the making, and like I'm so proud of that. If I plug anything, listen to that episode. I'm so happy with it. Also, just wanted to say, everybody in the chat, first off, Cassandra, I've shouted you out earlier, but her tarot readings are discounted in the month of August. Take advantage while supplies last. And also, yeah, exactly, like go and support Space. His astrology readings are incredible. You're not. It is an absolute like worth your money and time. You know, everybody here is worth listening to, and also like the civil conversation. I mentioned earlier about how Twitter we see like victims of the mind virus. This is one of the few places where you know civility and open discussion and you know growth comes from. So just wanted to shout everyone out. This is incredible. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks, Monty. You too. And as well, this is what I would hope it would be always. Like, we're civil, we can disagree. Even we could even talk about more radical things, and I think we could easily be civil about it because we respect each other, and we just know that we don't take it personally. It just is what it is. Just discussion, just speculative ideas, nothing to be fixed about, nothing to be angry about, nothing to be reactive about. And we all at least try in our own way, in our own angle, to embrace each other with loving kindness. And I think even if you just hear me say that, I think that it implants a seed, a bija, deep inside you, that seed of emptiness, that seed of luminousness and masslessness. So, or at least I'd like to hope it does, right? So also, of course, Dr. Joseph Reed, McLuhan Chair of the Grey Lodge, thank you so much for coming. Appreciate it. Thank you for persevering and sort of like testing the waters and seeing what we were about. But honestly, it felt like a right fit. Like, I do like McLuhan myself, and it felt right. So we just went with it. And of course, our other co-host, who is not really other, but he is a co-host or the co-host, Joshua the Branch. We did actually talk about weaving spiders, and I said like what a veteran podcaster you are and how cool you are and all this shit. And I'm sure you would have done a better job at self-introduction and like autobiography, but I did the best I could, Joshua. So I hope I did you justice. And obviously, you've been on my show, and his episode is coming up, so it'll be out soon enough within like the next month. So look out for that, and then it will really complete. I'll have had on most of the co-hosts. So, and it'll be all eventually. So let me just say that. And thank you to John, of course. Space answered. Really appreciate it. Thank you, John, for being not only our resident astro, but also a homie to the lodge, as we could say, and appreciate that. And for sticking with us for so long and like through so much. It means something, right? Like, because you can easily just have passing very one-night stand parasocial relationships with people. It's very easy. Just totally discard them. Your mutuals 1 minute, block the next. That's me and my relationship with Dharma Twitter, but I digress. Okay, so John, thank you so much. Moonblade, brother Moonblade, thank you so much. Appreciate you. I see you're hosting spaces. I'll try and boost them if I see them when you're active. Love that. I think it's great. Everybody should produce content, add to the digital archive, as we say, right, Joseph?
Right. Yes. Digital archive, very important. It's happening.
It's happening. Yeah, Aeon of the Archive, so better build it right now. Robin, thank you so much. I saw you tweeted an awesome painting. Thank you. Appreciate that. I will retweet it when we get off the space. I'm so glad that you came. Awesome. Thank you so much. Avi, of course. Logi from day one. Thank you so much. Bullbrave Free. Yogini of the Lodge. Very much appreciate you. Always a true homie and a true Dakini who always comes through for us. Thank you. Sir Tim of the Tunnels, great brother from the great state of Hawaii, obviously the true home of Hapaborea, as well as Singapore. So it is interesting that on my screen, at least, Sir Tim and Rom exist beside each other. Of course, Rom, who was late, so he probably won't even re-listen to it. That's kind of how Rom is. But it's okay. Thank you, Rom, for being so active in the chat and keeping it alive at times when nobody else wanted to post, nobody else was comfortable schizo posting. And yes, you do bother Solar a little bit, but I think it's funny. And you guys keep it all in good fun. And it's great. It really is. Sometimes tension is like very normal and healthy, and like learning how to navigate that as well, not being uncomfortable for other people. That's especially for me, that's like I had to really overcome, like my deep embarrassment is seeing other people do things that I perceive as embarrassing. So I guess I'm really a sensitive young dark soul in the end. Cassandra, thank you so much. Appreciate you, content creator. Tarot, as Monty very much said, tarot card readings special for the month of August. Everybody check it out. Etsy, and also her videos, which are quite interesting and cool. And I did ask Nick, I said, why don't you have Cassandra on? But Cassandra said, no, she doesn't like talking to us. But I think she'd have honestly a lot of fun. I think she could just forget about it and be like, yeah, I'm just gonna chat with Jen and Nick and just be. But we'll see. You're welcome on anytime, Cassandra, as well as on Saints, of course, which might be better because it's just the two of us. I'm really not mean. I promise. I know Solar likes to pretend that I'm like just a cruel master of Saturn, but that is relatively true at times. But I'm not cruel. I'm actually probably too monkeyish at times, but try and temper that humor out. Okay, and so we have Zachary Shumar. Thank you so much, brother, for coming. Appreciate you. Great to see you on a live. Content creator in his own right. Jazz musician of the weirdest variety, which a lot of Nyingma Buddhists are actually. HD and I were talking today about different sects and like sort of their, I guess, stereotypes. And we were talking about how a lot of Nyingma lamas are very into experimental jazz music. And there's a lot of bands like in that kind of like weird experimental music that are composed of like some tantric like Rinpoche or whatever they are. And I just thought that's so interesting that they're into this weird shit and they're all like, magic is the mind, man. And so that's what my inclination Solar really is. It's like I like that Nyingma presentation, that it's just like it's all in the mind, like you just like it's all like, yeah, you learn this ferocious ideas, you keep it in there, you contain it, then you sort of do it in your mind, walk the ritual mandala in your mind. Maybe you externalize it with sound and color, but you're always in like it's very postmodern, I guess, and you definitely can have their criticisms of it. just as some people take Dzogchen as a very like kind of post-conceptual, post-religious kind of framework, but I think it works best in synthesis with actual Buddhism and Buddhist practices other than Dzogchen as well. And so that being said, who else do I have? Okay, Zach Bibliomancer, thank you so much. Really appreciate you. And I know that I probably am too much of a wignot for your leftoid sensibilities, but we forgive each other for our deficiencies in that portion, right? So thank you so much for coming. Appreciate you. Mookie, greatly appreciate you. Dakini of the Lodge, Saint of the Birds, Friend of the Birds, Dakini of the Crow Face, as we often say. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate it that you come all the way from the European Midlands, we could say. I don't know, sunshine. I don't know. What is it, Solar? I'm going to get in so much trouble later. Whatever Germany is, like Western Europe, I guess. Anyways, the home of like I'm thinking of that series Spartacus, because if you follow Zuki, he's been talking about this like all week, how Spartacus is really the genesis of class politics, which is an interesting idea because he did lead a slave rebellion, and Zuki is a very smart, high IQ person. So I'm not saying he's always right. I'm giving him a shout out, and he has been on my show, and he's coming back to discuss Aeon Flux. So the Peter Chung 1992 Aeon Flux series on MTV. So, and then obviously I have to shout out Vanessa. I'm sorry, Vanessa. Tie-dye creator, follow her on IG. You can see all her stuff. It sells out really fast, so if you want it, you have to, jump on that. Thank you so much, Vanessa, personally, and also for the lodge. I thank you very, very much. I think that's it. And so we're the Grey Lodge. We're speculative space. Everything we said is speculative. But I will say, like, for all of our co-hosts and all of our lodge members, honorary or otherwise, we do wish the best for you. I personally wish the best for you. And if that is material maxing right now, then that is what it is. So I think it's like the Aeon of, as Monty would say, let's fucking go. So that's kind of catchy. That would have been a good tweet. I should have saved that, but that's okay. We'll let it go this time. I'll let you guys have it for free. So all that being said, I'm Jin the Ninja. Listen to Threshold Saints. I'm often on Occult Rejects. I've been invited on some more niche, we'll say, occult podcasts, so we'll see how that goes. Obviously, my appearances going forward will obviously include promotion for the Grey Lodge, so that'll be an interesting adventure as I venture in to get booked on bigger and bigger shows, hopefully, and be sort of, if not the visible chair, at least a voice for us as a collective. So it's a little scary too, to be honest, as John knows, because I'm often malding in his DMs about this exact issue, which is a Jin issue. It is not an other people issue, as are most things in this world, as is most magic in this world of the mind, things we create in our minds that arise before us on the carnal ground, which is also the garden. So be non-dual in your perceptions, meditate. I think everybody should be meditating. I don't even really care what religion you are. I think, to go off what Solar was saying, like, I'm not going to tell people to ever be like, go left-hand path. That's just not my orientation or my nature. I know it makes me a little less cool, as I joke to Matt. But you know what? It is my true orientation is middle path. And so I'm just going to direct people in the same orientation that I too would follow and that I too try and follow, although I'm an imperfect vehicle for that. So I think that, yes, you should be trying to view things in a non-dual, both conceptual and a post-conceptual way. That means it's 2025. If you think you need to do sicko shit to get there, I'm going to tell you, you really don't. And you want to talk about third world mentality? Third world mentality is actually believing that these sort of old-timey ritual systems need to be replicated in their exactitude. Now, I get that. I get why people kind of rejected, and including the Vedas. I think this is a really interesting conversation. If you follow me or follow Dharma Twitter, I think this are kind of like that pagan Dharma, and I'm not using pagan even as a pejorative. I'm just using it to describe a category of Twitter. There's a lot of people who really love those Vedas and that kind of like we was Kangs, to bring that up. I know I talk about this every time, but they kind of we was Kangs. But I think if you really understand at least what Buddhism says it is and what Buddhism kind of is, both in the Mahayana and Tantric sort of layers, I think you'll see there's a clear break with these ideas. I think there's a clear break. And I think we have to move with it. That's my opinion. Obviously, I do practice Dharma, so my opinion is weighted in that way. But I think it's a really interesting idea that a lot of people don't know. Just like with the axial age systems. I think once it's in your consciousness and you kind of recognize that the world is moving on a non-dual axis, I think you're a lot more adaptable and you can be that Quicksilver Surfer. That's at least how it's been for me. And I'm, again, an imperfect vehicle. I cannot tell you what to do. Do as thou will. I do think that love goes over will in this aeon, but I also think they work together in synthesis and rectification. So let me be clear about that. I do not reject left-hand path, and I do not embrace right-hand path either. I'm a true neutral, as I like to say. With a V, obviously. 2 V's, no U's. You know, we reject. It's plus, as Monty said, it's plus fucking ultra. It's not 2 poles together. So, it's, it's the infinity. It's the sign of it's the Dorji, it's the magician, it's the infinite, power. So, I'm just going to go with that. I think just that and loving kindness, and I think you're good to go. Obviously, results may vary. Everything I said was speculative. Nothing to do with myself or my own experience. Obviously, that's a joke. Thank you guys. It's been amazing. I look forward to these greatly. And I will miss Solar next week, but hopefully he will enjoy the Toby episode. So I think that'll be really great. I've got a lot of episodes coming up. I know you guys think I'm slow, and I am really slow, but it's also that I have tons of episodes that I've been constantly recording, and so the archive keeps growing. So I couldn't sleep on the Toby episode, so it has to come out. But I have a lot more coming, and Monty also has an episode coming, which would have actually been dropped this week, but Monty had other things to do, which is good. We like that for him, so it will come out. Him and Thomas discuss Jujutsu Kaisen. Obviously, I was there, so I did contribute some, but I let them kind of run the table, which is good. I think it was interesting and fruitful. So look out for that and a lot more. I've got tons. So just keep an eye on this space. And thank you guys so much, everyone. Come together in synthesis, consensus, and love, at least as much as we can, parasocially, platonically, of course. Because as Solar said, there's nothing worse than being a hypocrite, right? I agree with that 100%. I think John and I spoke about this. There is something powerful in, as Ron would say, authenticity maxing, embracing the cringe. There kind of is. So I'm kind of flowing with that. So we'll see where that goes. But okay. Thank you guys so much. Amazing. We've got 1 minute left. I guess I should have said a Gnostic prayer, but we are now opening the circle, but we're going to push all the negative things into space. We're going to self-combust them. They're going to be nothing but ash, flux maybe even, that we can take from in particulate, but nothing of totality. So, okay, perfect. 44 after. Let's fucking go. Have a great night. Talk to you, Nagas, very soon, I'm sure. Good night. Peace out.